I'm the lead 3D artist in a small studio based in Melbourne that makes virtual reality experiences. They're called VRTOV. I've worked there for maybe 8 months, 9 months, nearly a year. And their kind of experiences are real-time, made-in-game engines that kind of sit at the borderline of film and games. So they're very narrative heavy, like a film, but they also are interested in exploring interactive elements like a game. So there's 2 projects that we've made recently. One is called Easterizing Voice of a Rebel, which is about one man's memory of the Irish Easter Uprising in 1916. So it's the 100-year anniversary of that event. So that project is a documentary working with BBC Learning. It was an interesting experience from a 3D artist perspective because it needed to be factually correct. Being a BBC production, it had to hit educational milestones. So that meant a lot of my work needed to reference photographs that were collected by a researcher. So if, for example, I was to make a wagon, I couldn't just go and make a wagon, no matter how small it is in the headset. I had to wait until I got a particular photograph of that particular wagon from that time and then make it. So I guess the clever way we kind of eased that restraint was to push the art style towards more abstract. So explore more that this is a memory of those experiences. So it's fragmented and wishy-washy, and so therefore looking at impressionism, so just broad brushstrokes, general shapes, and we also wanted to incorporate vorticism, which is an art movement of the time that's very bold, geometric, harsh shapes, and kind of exploring the relationship between those 2 distinct art styles. The Turning Forest is a project I worked on with VRTOV. It's another virtual reality experience structured like a fairy tale. So this project was really hectic to make, and compared to my experience making games, it was extremely backwards. We were working with BBC R&D in the UK, and the first step was they sent us a dynamic binaural radio play. So binaural is a simulation of how the human ear hears sound. Very basically, it's like sounds you hear in front of you are different to those that you hear behind you, and you can tell the difference just in the difference of frequency of the sound. So the first thing we got was all that audio already recorded, all in place. And my first task for that project was to create the poster, which is crazy. My first task working on Turning Forest was to create the poster. So I listened to the audio, listened to its descriptions of the environment and the creature, and drew a picture. Again, extremely backwards. The next step was to create the trailer, basically animating the picture, because we didn't have any other content at that point. After the trailer was released, it was time to actually make the virtual reality experience. As I said, we already had the sound already animating through an empty space. So my task there was to literally listen to the sounds and watch where they move through the space and form an environment around that. So there might be a rustle over there, there's a big bush there, they sound like they come closer over this side, so maybe there's a tree blocking their path. Also with this experience, was extremely backwards, say from a game development point of view, because in games, when you create a character and you have them running through a space, you can create an event every time the foot hits the ground to send a sound effect, and it makes it very easy to do that. So you have freedom over where the character can move, and the audio fits around that. With this project, however, it was really backwards because all the footsteps were already in place, and we had to get the creature moving to hit those marks. Very difficult process. We also only had 4 weeks to make it before its premiere at Tribeca Film Festival in New York. So my favorite projects to create, personally, are ones where the player interprets what they're seeing. So that requires very strong themes. I want to engage the player emotionally, and I usually try to do it non-verbally, with no text or speech. And I like that because the player interprets what they're seeing and infuses it with their own mind, and therefore creates a more personal understanding of the experience in the end.